calculating the averages, I'm not entirely sure, but you're right. Hurst did take a graphic approach, and yes, so you're absolutely right. And Millard added the detail of how to calculate, specifically how to calculate the averages, and Elaine confirms that. Okay, so well, let's take a graphic approach right now and do that. So what Hurst suggested was that when you construct your channels, you should, or your envelopes, you basically create equidistant. They need to be equidistant vertically. Okay, equidistant vertically on your chart, and that raises all sorts of questions to do with logarithmic and linear scaling. And the correct answer is to use linear scaling, although many people have different opinions about that. I see Alain says Millard uses displaced moving averages templates for constructing envelopes or channels. And Callum asks, are these channels the same as Bollinger Bands? No, Callum, they're not the same as Bollinger Bands. They are similar, and on a chart they probably look very similar, but they aren't. Bollinger Bands have a specific method of calculation, and they also vary in width. Hurst channels are always constant width. They have to be the same width, as I've indicated there. Wow, another chat. Oh, that's Andy. Yes. Okay, great. Saying the same thing. All right. So Hurst channels always have an equal width at any time. And many people have argued that that's not a good idea. But anyway, let's just stick with what Hurst said, and we can talk about those sort of details later. And then he said, what you need to do is you need to draw a channel which includes all the price action, and there are two of them, and they remain equal distance apart. Okay, and that's basically how you construct it. Of course, the way to do this properly is to calculate a moving average, which is then displaced, and a moving average, when plotted in a displaced fashion on the chart, would be this center line over here. And then you construct the channels above and below that. So that's what a channel is. Okay, that's what a single channel is. But now, how do I clear this board? I don't seem to be having. There we go. All right. So, let me just, right, okay, so I'm struggling with this whiteboard. There we go. Okay, so that's what a single channel is. Now the first thing to know about channels, or the first thing to know about displaced moving averages, is because you are calculating the moving average for a period of time up to and including the last bar, and then you are displacing that point back by half that distance, then the moving average that you have calculated for your latest bar comes to an end half of the length that you are using to calculate your moving average in the past. Okay, so this moving average would come to an end over here. Okay. That moving average would come to an end over there. Why? Because you're displacing it back into the past. So your channels would also come to an end half of the moving average length in the past. Now, of course, you'll notice immediately that Sentient Trader channels don't come to an end. In fact, Sentient Trader channels continue. Okay? And I will explain to you in a moment how it does that. And we'll talk about that. It's a fairly important thing to bear in mind. But if you were not using Sentient Trader, then your channels would come to an end half of the moving span in the past, which could be somewhere over here, something like that. Okay. Now, what's the next thing that we need to consider in terms of channels? Having constructed one channel, you should know that you can construct a channel for each and every one of your cycles. The length over which you calculate the moving average on which the channel is based on the wavelength of the cycle that you are plotting your channel for. So now I have plotted here the 54-month cycle. So now let's plot the 18-month cycle, channel, which is the next cycle down. And there it is. Now we can see two channels on our chart. And we can see something else very interesting about these channels, and that is that in fact, let me change the plotting of this chart to a line on median, okay, to avoid that causing confusion. Right. Now, you notice something interesting here about the way in which the orange channel, which is the 54-month channel, and the yellow channel, the 18-month channel, the way in which they interact. And that is that the 54-month channel could really have been constructed not around price, but around the 18-month channel. And here you can see that the 54-month chart, 54-month channel, includes 97% of all the points of the 18-month channel. Okay, let me try and explain that again. I don't know if that's making sense. Am I expressing myself clearly? Let me turn off the 54-month channel for now. There's the 18-month channel, which has been constructed, let's assume, around price. Okay, so as I mentioned, the 18-month channel needs to include 97% of all price points, and it needs to be a constant vertical width. By the way, this is a visual illusion that it looks as though the channel gets shorter when it enters a steep downtrend or uptrend. These channels are, believe me, constant width. Okay, if you measure them with a piece of paper, you'll see that they are constant width. It's a visual illusion that looks as though they tighten up over there. So the 18-month channel, the first channel, has been constructed to include 97% of all the price points. Okay, it's been constructed around that. Now, when we construct the next longer channel, the 54-month channel, instead of including 97% of all price points, we instead include 97% of all the 18-month channel points. Okay, so of course there will be 3% of the time when the 18-month cycle comes beyond the 54-month cycle. Over there, and there's a tiny bit over there. You might say, what about over here? But that's a special case, because that is a case where Sentient Trader is projecting beyond the end of the calculated channel. So this area here is beyond the end of the calculated channel. Okay, so in fact, it ignores that. So the 54-month channel has been has been calculated to include 97% of all the 18-month channel lines. That is what Hurst called the nesting of channels, and it was the first sort of major thing that he presented in the Profit Magic of Stock Transaction Timing book. So let's just go through this in detail from the beginning. Let's zoom all the way into this chart. Okay, let's zoom all the way into the chart. I'll respond to chat messages in a moment. Let's zoom all the way in, and let's deselect the channels. Okay, let's start with our 5-day channel. Here's our 5-day channel. Now the S&P 500 has been caught up in an FLD pause zone. As you can see, price has been moving, very sort of up and down. It's been trapped in what's called a trading range. Okay, and in fact, that trading range is perfectly captured by the 5-day channel, which you can see presented over there. I've plotted the median price. Let's go back to that price, and you'll see that 97% of all those bars are included by the 5-day price channel. Now, the next thing that we do is that we build a 10-day price channel, and we calculate that on the basis of including the 5-day channel price. Now, Sentient Trader only plots the most recent channel, the most recent cycle of a particular channel. There are various reasons for it doing that, which I won't bore you with. But as we add more and more channels, you can see how each channel includes the price movement of the shorter channels. Okay, this channel looks different. Why? Because it's dotted and because it's red in color. Why is that? That's because it's the trading channel. The trading channel is particularly important. When price approaches the bottom of your trading channel, it is time to consider buying. So you can see over here, price approaches the bottom of the trading channel, time to consider buying. When it approaches the top of the trading channel, time to consider selling. So that's why the trading channel is particularly important for making trading decisions. Okay, and you can see how price bounces within the channel, within the trading channel. Well, it bounces within every channel, but the trading channel has a different color because of that, so that you can readily identify it. If you want that trading channel to look the same as all your other channels, you can go to Tools, Options, and you go to Cycles, scroll down to the bottom, and you can say Use Cycle Color for Trading Cycle Channel. There we go. So you can make it a normal channel like every other channel, if you really want to. Right, let's zoom back out again, and let's go back to our long channels to speak about how you use channels. I've demonstrated that channels get nested, and so that's all very interesting. It makes pretty pictures, but what does it actually mean? Right, well, what it actually means is this. When a channel itself forms a trough or forms a peak, that one's off the chart, up at the top, then that's an indication that that cycle is probably forming a trough or a peak at about that time. Okay? But now, sometimes you'll notice that in channels, peaks are a bit insignificant. Here's a peak, but is that really a peak, or is it not a peak? You know, is that a peak? Isn't it? I don't know. It's debatable. Here is a trough. Well, is that a trough or isn't a trough? Isn't it a trough? That's also kind of difficult to see. So sometimes troughs and peaks aren't really clear. Sometimes they are, as in here is a trough that's really clear.